everyone. This is going to be the first video of my FlexBox demonstration. And today we're going to talk about how to use FlexBox in terms of setting up the container for your Flex items and elements to go into. I'm using CodePen.io. You're welcome to use any code editor of your choice, including brackets or whatever else you'd like to use. CodePen.io is great for front-end web development, gives us a quick and easy way to write our code, and it can be accessed on the web, so you can use it pretty much at any computer that you would like. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and minimize our JavaScript window because we won't be using JavaScript for this example. Now, any elements that you want to have typically sitting next to each other on a web page, like say we want to have 3 boxes that are sitting next to each other on our page. In the past, we have used HTML and CSS to create floats and clears and use these CSS rules to create that more complex layout. So FlexBox solves that problem for us by making it much easier for us to work with. But there are some complexities to it because, like anything new, you have to understand the different rules and property values that need to be used to make your design look the way you want it to. So for this first part, we're going to just talk about how every FlexBox element needs to be sitting inside of a parent container, and that's what we're going to build today. So let's go ahead and create a div, and we'll go ahead and give this a class of Flex Container. And within this box, this div, we're going to have 3 smaller boxes. So let me save this. So the first box, we're going to go ahead and give it a class of box and a class of 1. So these are multiple classes that will be applied to this particular element. And I'm going to put an h2 with the number 1 in here. And I'm going to do this 2 more times. So I'm going to Control C and Control V to paste. I'm going to change all of my 1s to 2s and 3s. Now you'll see on the screen below that I have 3 divs. Well, you don't even realize they're divs, I guess. You can't see that. But I've got 3 block level items, which means they're displayed one after another on top of each other. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and style our boxes. So since these are classes that we're working with, we're going to use the period, and I'm going to create a rule for the box. So I want my boxes to have a width of 250 pixels. Okay, now nothing has happened here, and I want the I'm going to just keep that right there. Now, I have 3 more styles, classes I need to define, which is 1, 2, and 3. This will be applied to each individual box. And I want to create background colors for these so we can kind of see what they look like. So this first one, I'm going to give a background color of blue. And the second one, I am going to give a background color of purple. And the third one, I'm going to give a background color of red. Okay, so I can't really see my numbers too well, so I'm going to go back up to box since this one applies to all of them. And I'm going to put a white background color. And let's do text align center and maybe a little bit of padding. Okay. All right, so 20 pixels padding definitely made that quite a bit here. Okay. All right, so I have my boxes. Now, again, I haven't done anything yet. I haven't used anything crazy, any FlexBox items. You will see that my boxes, 250 pixels in width, the background colors are applied, and I've text aligned my numbers of my H2s, and nothing too fancy about this here, right? So let's apply one last rule, and we're going to make this our Flex Container class. And right now the default display on this is block. Okay, by default, all divs have a block level. They are block level elements. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the display to flex. As soon as I change that display to flex, look what happens. So we've basically taken them out of their block level item elements and have created a flex display. And by default, the direction of a flex display is horizontal across the page, and they're in order on how I have created them here. Okay, so now this was pretty easy compared to doing our floats and things like that. But one of the cool things about FlexBox is, let's say we want to add some content. Now, my students typically ask me this question, and I always tell them, wait until we get to FlexBox. Okay, so I am on Lorem Ipsum.io. Now, Lorem Ipsum is basically known as placeholder text, so instead of me having to create some content of my own, because I'm more focused on learning the code, not necessarily the content of this, I'm just going to create some code here. Now, did you notice what happened? Well, number one, we've got a text-align center on here, but I've put this code in here, and did you see what happened? These boxes grew, 1 and 3, grew to the same length, or the same height as box 2. And this is an aha moment, because if you were to do this using clears and floats, you would still have a 1 and a 3 that were only, this size. So this is one of the default settings for FlexBox, is that the content will grow to the height of the elements next to it. And this is something very exciting for us. So if this was your website that you were making, you could then create like your header and footer above and below this, and center your whole page, and you'd have a pretty simple, easy to use Flex page layout. Again, this is just the first part. Just wanted you to see how that container works with those elements. Our next videos will go into some more details about what you can do with these Flex elements now that you've created them. Thanks. Bye.